I got this TENAX trellis net, and it's just like a, what is this made from? It's like plastic. I'm sure it's not just typical plastic, but anyway, it's highly rated. I saw it on Justin Rhodes' YouTube channel. They were using it in their greenhouse, and I've been looking for an alternative to these panels. You know, I got these panels back here that the cucumbers are growing up right now, and I like those. I like them a lot, actually. But definitely there'd be benefit to having something that's more portable, easy to put up, easy to take down, especially if you're wanting to use a certain area for like multiple crops. You know, plant 2 or 3 gardens in one plot during a year. Something like this could be really handy. So I'm gonna give it a try. We'll see how it goes. I'm gonna use this for pole beans. Let's take a quick tour through the garden here before I get started. Put on my shades. My shades are broken. It's always something. Okay, so the peppers. I moved the peppers out of the 5-gallon buckets, and I moved them over here down into the ground. And I did that because the soil I use prepackaged. It's supposed to be container mix, potting mix / container mix. And when I put it in, I was feeling of it, and I kind of thought to myself, you know, this isn't really as light and fluffy as I like it to be, but I guess it'd be okay. Well, it turns out it wasn't, because they were getting waterlogged. It was just holding all kinds of water in those buckets. But I did use the soil that was in those buckets. I dumped it down here and just used it right here in these rows. So what you see there is the container soil that was inside those 5-gallon buckets, and just plant them right in the ground. I tell you what, you can see by looking at them that they're getting darker green. They look healthier, they look stronger, they're starting to grow, they're bearing fruit. And I did that about a week and a half ago, I think, and I mean, they were just doing almost nothing in those pots. Moving on down to the tomatoes, the early girls are coming in. I have like 7 or 8 good-sized tomatoes on this plant now. Onions are looking good. I pulled up several green onions at this point already, and they've been just, oh, they taste so good. Next to Vidalias, the Walla Walla onions are my favorites. The bees are coming along. The bees are pollinating well, and with the whole garden, so I'm really excited about that, and I'm sure that having the marigolds down has been a big help drawing them in. I was talking to a guy today. I met a guy and sold him some power tools that I had. I'm trying to kind of thin out the tools I don't really need, use the money to buy stuff I actually do need to use. And but I met a guy, real nice guy, and you know, I meet a lot of nice people through Facebook Marketplace. And if you sell things like power tools, then you usually sell those things to people that like the same things that you do, and so you have something in common, I guess, right off the bat. But he's talking about how he has a 30-acre farm and stuff, and we were talking about that. I was talking to him some about, you know, modern homesteading, backyard homesteading, and he was like, yeah, you know, and he really was digging it, you know, just talking about that. And I was telling him how we you know, kind of moved out of where we were in the country for quite a while in Kentucky, and moved up to Michigan, and moved to a smaller spot, you know, when all we have is just a small backyard that we can really use. And told him how the garden, you know, is basically taking up 2/3 of the yard, and then we have the chickens and a greenhouse and working on some other things. And it was just like, he was like just really into that. And you know, I would like probably all of you or most of you, I would love to have lots and lots of land. That would just be wonderful. I would love to have a place where I could have a large garden And I say it's Leah and I both, we have the same vision and dream to have a huge garden and to have a large place to build a custom chicken coop and a large run, and a place for other animals as well, and just a great spot to be able to have the kids be able to get out and play and roam, and have woods on the land. You can go and carve trails through the woods for hiking and for foraging, for exploration, or just to get away and have time in prayer and just meditating on the Word and things like that. And of course, the obvious thing with woods would be hunting, deer, turkey, other things. And I would love to have all that. I love to do all that. But this is what we've been entrusted with for this moment, this small piece of land here. And so we're just gonna have to do the best that we can with it. And I think that we're doing pretty good. And I was listening to an interview with Joel Salatin not that long ago, and he was talking about just maximizing productivity on the piece of land that you have, no matter if that's with farming or homesteading. That if you're not maximizing productivity on what you have, then what makes you think that you need to have a bunch more? Not that, obviously if you could have more, and that's great, but why obsess over that? Why focus on that all the time when you're not even using properly what you do have? And I think that's a really good way to look at it, and that's really just about stewardship. I'm gonna give this a good watering. I have manure compost all the way down, and then I've put some Burpee organic granulated plant food down in the bed. And I've already tilled this up a couple weeks ago, and so now I'm just gonna give it a good soaking all the way down, and then I'll come back in. I'm gonna put the T-post in, and then I'm going to go ahead and put in the netting, and then we'll sow the seeds. I'll tell you, the most important part of planting any kind of bean is that you do this. That feels so much better. The glasses are cleaned out. It's all crooked, but whatever. So it is what it is. I'm not taking them back out, that's for sure. So there it is. This is how it comes apart. And so I'll just take this on down the line here and keep unfolding it, and just take it all the way down, and then I'll cut off the excess at the end. Oh man, look at that. That is just barely enough. I thought I bought the longer one. I don't know, 30 foot. That's how long my rows are. Well, I'm glad I have at least 30 foot. Hey listen, this is not a review of the TENAX Trellis net, all right? So don't be leaving dirty comments or thumbs down because you're like, that's the worst review I've ever seen. Because listen, this is not a review. How am I going to review this? Okay, some plastic netting. Looks like it might do something. I'm putting it up on some poles. There's your review, right? Listen, maybe I'll do a review of this after I've actually used it. And I'll let you know what I think about it. But this is just me sticking this thing up here. Not a review. So far, so good though. I've been talking to some of you through Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and private messaging and stuff, and I've been hearing about your gardens and things, and hey, some of y'all got some pretty impressive gardens. And one person said over 50 tomato plants, I think. Now clearly she's doing a lot of preserving, and that would be awesome. So one thing I'm doing with these ties is that I'm twisting them around the netting. I'm finding that is a better way of securing the netting. What I was talking about with wrapping this up around the netting is to see if you just do this, then there's a lot of, well, there's not as much play in this one, but in most of the line going down, there's a lot of play. And so what I've been doing here is just wrapping it around a couple times. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but I wrapped it around there several times, 2 times, and then I'm able to just pull it tight. I mean, that's nice and tight, and so that's pretty good right there, and that'll be better than just leaving it how it was. Okay, so the net is down in this 30-foot row, and now we're going to sow these seeds right into the ground here. These are Kentucky Wonders. They're Burpees Organics, and they are, I'm just going to read the back. Listen, if you don't know how to plant the vegetables, whether they be direct sow or start indoors, everything you need to know is right in the back. And not that you have to go directly by this. You can, this is just a good guideline. So it says full sun, 6+ hours, 65 days to harvest, 1 inch depth, so that means you sow them 1 inch down into the soil. You don't want to go too deep, but you don't want to be too shallow. Let me see here. Sow in average soil in full sun after danger of frost, and it gives you a chart on the back for your area, your zone. And for us, it's saying I can sow these May through July, and so this is July 5th right now, and this is actually a little bit later than I would like to sow them. I would have liked to have done this about 3-4 weeks ago, but it is what it is. They'll be just fine. And it's saying 2 to 3 inches apart, or 6 to 8 seeds around a pole. And so if you're just going to use a single pole and then grow those beans up the pole so they bush out around the pole, then you can just plant 6 to 8 seeds around that pole. But I'm not doing that. I'm doing the trellis here, and so we'll do it every 3 inches at 1 inch depth. And this is not, as this entire garden plot here it's not an ideal spot for growing, and even more so the closer I get to the fence line, the less ideal it is for growing. But we're going to do it anyway. And I planted bush beans here last year. They were providers, and they did just fine. And so I think this will be just fine as well, even though the vegetation's even more intense this year than it was last. But let me go ahead and get started here and get these in the ground. Okay, that's it for today. The seeds are in the ground. They've been covered up. I'm gonna give them a good soaking of water, and then I'm going to call it a day. I'm gonna head in the house and get cleaned up and eat some dinner. And so be checking back in here pretty soon. I'll give you some videos on progress, how the beans are going along, and also how the trellis is holding up as we go through this process here. So be checking back in, and I'll see you soon.